Yo, what's going on? Welcome. I hope you're doing well. As you can see, we're not in the studio right now, we're in my record room because I want to talk today about how I actually find samples. So if you've been to this channel before, you've probably seen that I almost exclusively sample from vinyl. 99% of my beats starts with a vinyl sample. And the reason I do that may surprise you. I think a lot of people sample from vinyl for the sound quality. For me personally, the sound that it gives isn't that big of a part of why I do it. It's more about how it allows me to find samples and be inspired and connected with the music I'm sampling. So today I'm just going to go through the full process of how I find samples. We'll find something and then we can go upstairs and make a quick beat out of it in the studio. And the first thing I want to quickly touch on is the organization of my records because it has a big impact and influence on how I find samples. Once something makes it onto this shelf, it means I've already completely listened through the whole thing and gone through it with a sampling brain to see if I can find anything on there. I think one of the most effective things I've added to my workflow when it comes to being as productive as possible making music is separating the tasks that I want to achieve when it comes to making beats. So for example, I'll very rarely just sit with my record player and my MPC and try to find samples while I'm waiting to make beats because I find that it gets frustrating sometimes when you can't find something. So when you separate the things you want to do, for example, I'll spend hours just finding samples, and then when you get to the MPC, you can spend hours making beats. And what this allows you to do in both of those tasks is really zone in on exactly what you're trying to do. Even when it comes to actually making beats, I'll do sample chops and add drums, and then another time I'll just spend hours adding bass lines to my beats, and it really allows you just to zone in and stay locked in on that specific task. But before records make it up onto the shelf, I have a crate of all the things I most recently acquired right next to my record player in this room, and that crate is essentially a to-do list. I take those records, put them on the record player, and I know I have to go through those and find samples and mark them down before it makes it up onto here. So what we're going to do is hit up that crate. I'll take a new record that I've gotten and haven't listened through yet, put it on the record player, and then I'll show you how I actually track those samples. And then once we have a few things to choose from, we'll go up and make a beat out of it. Let's get it. So I pulled a record from my to be sampled crate, and it's this one right here, Billy Paul, War of the Gods. I'm very familiar with Billy Paul, but this was a record I still need to listen through to see if there's some samples on here. So the first thing I'm doing is literally going onto the notes app of my phone, and I'm just going to take a picture of the cover so I don't forget it. Now let's pop the record on, see what we can find. And one of the things I always try to avoid is just going to the intro, going to the outro of a song and seeing if there's anything there. You really want to take your time needle dropping through the record or even just listening to it all the way through, but make sure you're always keeping in mind, where can I find beats on this? Because when I'm just listening to records out of enjoyment, I find I'll oftentimes pass over something that when I go back again from a sample mindset, I realize I missed something. So I'm going to go through the first side of the record. There's only 2 tracks on here, and then I'll show you what I found. So the first note I'm making is 1/3 of the way through the track. There's a nice saxophone sound, and I would slow it down when I'm making the beat. The reason I know this too is because while I'm looking for samples, I'm literally moving the pitch slider up and down to see, again, I'm thinking about this from a sampling standpoint. Is this going to be a good slow beat? I put it on 45 RPM sometimes just to see if it'd be better fast. So these are all the things that you want to consider when you're looking through your records. And I just found another nice potential sample 3/4 into the way of track 2 on side 1, where there's some nice sort of synthy shooting sounds and there's a nice instrumental breakdown. So I'm making note of that as well. So typically when I'm doing this, I could end up with 10, 20 records that I have all marked down, and then I go up to the studio, I already have all those things lined out, and I'm not spending any of my creative time trying to find samples. I have them all loaded up and marked very specifically with where to go to find something and get moving. That being said, now that we have a couple samples marked down on this record, let's go up to the studio, see if we can cook something up with it. Let's get it. Alright, so here we are. We now don't have to worry about trying to find samples when what we want to do is make beats. I've got the record right here, ready to load up into the MPC, and there's only one thing left to do. You already know what it is. I'm going to record the sample into the MPC, chop it up, and then we can get moving. Let's get it. Yep. I want to start with some drums on this, and then we'll add the sample chop. let's layer these drums. Look at them sounding extra crunchy. Let's get it. I'm copying this whole sequence over because there's a ton to work with on this sample, and we can definitely get another chop out of this, and this is going to be sounding kind of nuts. Let's keep these chops going because this is sounding sick. I still have a ton to work with. We can keep this beat moving. Okay, I think that's going to wrap it up for this beat, and I ended up loving how this turned out. But what I love the most is I wasn't having to worry about trying to find a sample, and then while I wanted to make beats, that's what I was worried about. And for this video, obviously, I found the sample, and then I came up to the studio to make a beat. But typically, I would spend hours looking for samples, and then I'm in the studio for hours, going through those samples, putting stuff together, and really getting in the zone. I hope this video showed how separating some of the tasks you want to do for making beats can really make you more efficient and get you where you want to be. If you like the video, make sure you give it a thumbs up and subscribe if you want to see more videos like this one. Appreciate you so much, as always, for chilling. Thank you for hanging out. Peace.